Okay, good evening. Here we are again with another podcast of And Another Thing with Dave. My name's Dave Smith. I'm your host and investigative journalist, bringing you this podcast with the hopes of inspiring others to maybe do a little research and share that with the public. The hopes in creating this podcast are that we create a community forum, public forum, live bulletin board, if you will, where we can examine these topics in depth, back and forth. We're just starting out here, so, nobody's chiming in live yet. However, these are going to go onto YouTube, and I expect, I hope that people will leave respectful, in-depth comments that inspire and incite dialogue. Feel free to leave links to anything that you feel is factually relevant. Please keep it on topic. Help me forward this agenda. What really inspired me to do this is our brother, our brother, Russell Brand, and his podcast, Trues, in which he is broadcasting, true news, real news, things that are actually happening without the corporate slant on them. So that's where we're coming from here at And Another Thing, and I hope you enjoy what we're doing. So tonight we're talking about GMOs, and quite specifically the king of GMOs, Monsanto. So if you're not familiar with Monsanto, please hang out. Please hang out. I'm also going to post a number of very useful links. You'll learn more than you ever wanted to learn about Monsanto in one sitting. I'm going to try to make this quick. Try to keep it under like 15 minutes or so. Just want to give a basic breakdown for those who aren't so hip. For those who are, please feel free to give relevant information as far as any recent studies that you've come across. Especially I'm looking to my international brethren, and by that I mean women and men, my international community, because I feel like our information is being a little bit stifled here in the U.S., so help us out abroad, would you? So what we're looking at is Monsanto and your food. Labeling is key. If we can't choose whether or not we ingest GMO food, are we free? Really? If we can't choose what we eat, what's in the food, what's in an ear of corn, a carrot, an apple. Another prime example of the government siding with corporations over the public. People have overwhelmingly expressed their desire to have GMO products labeled, yet our elected representatives ignore us again and again and instead pass the Monsanto Protection Act. Really? Really, the Monsanto Protection Act? One of the largest corporations in the world needs protecting? Wow. Okay, we'll come back to that anyway. Yep, that's right. The same Monsanto responsible for PCBs. Google PCBs. There was I think it was Allenstown, Alabama, or something like that. Huge issue in the 70s. Basically, toxified this whole town. Just reckless, environmental abandon. They ended up having to settle for whatever, $70 million, $700 million, I think, something astronomical. Yet it wasn't even a drop in the bucket as far as what it would take to clean up the area. So it's not cleaned up. It's a Superfund site. Anyway, so yeah, that's right. The same Monsanto that created DDT. You remember DDT? Maybe not. The younger people listening to this probably wouldn't. If you haven't done a bunch of research, if you're not very super environmental, you probably haven't heard of it. And I'm not. There's no judgment there. It's just it's not in the news. You would have never heard of it. No reason. But DDT. It's a pesticide developed by Monsanto. I think it was, back in the I don't know. I think it was used in World War II, and then they developed it to be used as a excuse me while I print myself a little bit. There we go. That's a little bit. Then they developed it to be used as an agricultural product, which has happened with a lot of our commercial agricultural products. They've transitioned from wartime into food making. I mean, that's where our fertilizers came from. Whew, so it's kind of interesting. Beyond interesting. It's a little scary. So DDT, 60s, 70s, whatever. By the 70s, it had worked its way all the way up the food chain, and it almost killed out all the top predator bird species nationwide. Birds of prey had consumed DDT. They became affected, and so on. We almost lost the falcon, the eagle, the pelican. All these beautiful species were almost completely decimated, completely extinct. DDT made their shells so weak that they couldn't even support their own weight, and they would break before the chicks had a chance to hatch. So the population was in such rapid decline. Luckily, a lot of really on it and forward-thinking ornithologists captured some of these birds, took them into captivity, started breeding programs, and were able to propagate and then release into the wild some of these birds. But just a little side note, a little tangent here. So I'm 47 years old. When I was a kid, seeing pelicans, in 1967, seeing pelicans was kind of it was common. And then in high school, in the 80s, seeing pelicans, there were none, nowhere to be seen. And then in the late 2000s, or in the late 90s, and in early 2000s especially, boom, in San Francisco, they were back. They're back. Now you see flocks of pelicans flying along the ocean at sunset. Once again, like it should be. Thank God. Anyway, little tangent there. Sorry. Heartfelt moment. So, this near decimation of all the top predator bird species is what prompted the modern environmental movement, that book being called A Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. So let's not forget Monsanto's most recent contribution to humanity, their flagship product, Roundup. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the most widely used herbicide in the world. It's found its way into all the waterways and water systems where it's being used, despite Monsanto's claims that it does not percolate into the groundwater. Despite their claims, there it is. Animals affected by overspray, not even in the fields sprayed with Roundup, but in adjoining fields, have had miscarriages and developed reproductive issues and problems. Now, according to Reuters, it may be linked to Parkinson's disease, cancer, and other serious ailments in humans. So this company has an abominable history. Oh, wait, how could I even forget that? In between DDT and Roundup, we have Agent Orange. So yeah, you can thank Monsanto for Agent Orange in Vietnam. Yeah. A little side note here also. Actually, I'll come back to that. I have to make a note. I'm going to come back to this one because we need to touch on this, but I need to give it to you in order, or it's not going to make sense. Okay, so I'll just write down Agent Orange. and we'll keep going here. So it really blows me away how with this track record that Monsanto's got, they just keep plugging along, plugging along, plugging along, and they're basically in bed with our government. Um, so now the latest thing, wow, this is almost the latest thing, but so now due to the fact that Roundup hasn't been working as well because crops are growing used to it, becoming accustomed to it, adapting to it, evolving to it. They've developed these crops called Roundup Ready crops. These are crops that can survive a much heavier application of Roundup. Great, right? So now you can spray that field with 10 times the amount of Roundup that it would have gotten ordinarily. So all that's going to go right into the groundwater, and so on and so forth. And we wonder why our bees are disappearing. Okay, and due to the fact that bugs and weeds are growing resistant to Roundup, we're getting what's called superbugs and superweeds. Google superweeds. Check that out. These invasive weeds are becoming resistant to herbicides, so nothing kills them. So then you have to keep making the chemical stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. It's absolutely ridiculous. So that leads to the Agent Orange thing that I was just talking about, right? So now Roundup is, Monsanto is looking at blending, not looking at it, they've already done it and it's been approved. They're blending Roundup with Agent Orange. Agent Orange is a defoliant. So they're using a super diluted blend of that, I guess, with glyphosate, the main ingredient in Roundup, and spraying it. And when it's used commercially, they spray it aerially. They hit the whole field. So there's drift. It goes into whatever, wherever, and then it penetrates the earth and goes into our groundwater. Man, deep breath after that. So now Monsanto is the largest seed company on the planet. They've been buying up seed companies. So now this company, with this history, is the largest seed-owning company in the world. So the majority of farmers have to buy their seeds from Monsanto. So they're creating a monopoly. I don't know if it was in the 90s, late 90s or early 2000s, they created what they called the Terminator tomato. This is a tomato that did not produce seeds. So you cannot keep seeds from a tomato and then grow more next year. No, you have to buy more seeds from Monsanto every year. Some would say, oh, that's a brilliant, shrewd business move, right? Well, maybe. But what happens? Imagine the repercussions if that crosses species. It could be the end of food on Earth as we know it. All of a sudden, nothing produces a seed, and then we have a finite amount of seeds left, hopefully preserved in a seed bank somewhere, and that's it. And hopefully those can produce enough seeds to disseminate throughout the world to restore our our agricultural balance. But oh my God, look at what we're playing with. I mean, that's insane. That's some Lex Luthor shit. That's super criminal, evil-minded crap. Are you kidding me? Unbelievable. So, thanks, Monsanto. I don't know. I think this company is the epitome of evil. If there was such a thing as evil, it would be Monsanto. So there's a company called Millions Against, or not a company, but an association, the Organic Consumers Association, I believe it is. Millions Against Monsanto. Highly suggest you join them. It's a community activism group. You can take action in your own community, and they also do really cool things like they post a sticker online that you can print out just with a standard return address label. If you have sheets of return address labels, you can throw them in your printer, dial up their website, hook it up, and click on the link, whatever, and you can print out your own stickers that say, "Oh no, GMO," and then you can bring them to your supermarket and put them on GMO foods, letting your supermarket know that if they're not going to label their own food, we will. All right? It's time to take personal action. Now, I'm not saying to do anything violent or confrontational or anything like that. Not by any means. This is totally peaceful. You just take some stickers in there and you label the GMO food for the store. It's just helping them out and helping the customers out big time, letting them know, you might want to think about buying this product as opposed to that one. Myself personally, I buy organic and I'm happy to pay the extra price. I understand that, not everybody can do that. There's been times when I couldn't afford to do that. It's a priority to me. I understand that's not for some people for whatever reason, and that's fine. But you should still have the choice of knowing. You should still have the power of knowledge, knowing what you're consuming. Even if you can only afford the GMO bananas, you should still know that, okay, well, that's what I'm eating right now. I can't afford the regular conventional, and I can't afford the organic, so I'm going to go with the GMO. But that should be a conscious choice. And that choice has been removed from the discussion. And that is the issue in hand here. Not, GMOs haven't been around long enough for us to know if we don't even know if taking the E. coli gene and splicing that into a tomato or corn is going to have a health repercussion. So far, it hasn't seemed to. In the human body, it might have a worldwide repercussion as far as agriculture and the natural balance of the planet that we're effing with right now. But they haven't been around long enough to know. And this is food that we're talking about. I mean, what is more crucial than what you consume? So, really look forward to your comments on this one, folks. I mean, this is a big one. It's huge, and once again, it affects pregnant women, children, and the elderly the most. So, I don't know. Is this a concerted culling of the herd? Welcome your thoughts on this one. I'm signing out. This has been Dave Smith with another episode of And Another Thing. Hey! Good night.